I don't want to alarm anyone, but a storm's coming, and it'll be here soon. I hope you all be ready. It's being caused by 4 things. Stick around, and I'll explain. Meanwhile, back at the Prepper Shack, I want to take a few seconds to recognize a few people, like the 14 people who joined the channel as a subscriber yesterday in one day. Woo, yeah, and it's appreciated, and you've inspired me to make more videos, so I'm going to keep trying to do that. The other thing that I want to do is kind of start recognizing other YouTube developers that follow the whole prepper mindset type thing, and kind of sharing what I find with them. I'm not a big fan of people trying to sell their stuff, but every so often you run across some people that actually are just giving you information. The one that I found was this guy. His name is the Unapologetic Prepper. I will leave a link down below so that you can follow him if you want to. And big shout out. Keep doing good things, and let's go ahead and get started. So as we talked about in the very beginning, this storm that's coming, and it's coming fast. 4 main things. We're going to talk about them. Not a lot of detail, but it's important to know the why stuff. So here we go. First things first, shipping containers. Shipping containers are very important, and I'm going to show you why. Everybody remember this? This was that giant transportation ship that got jammed up in the Suez Canal for an entire week. The way it affected our supply chain is very simple. They started rerouting these shipping containers to all sorts of different places instead of maintaining their actual routes that they normally would take. You know, the business makes a product, they put it in a container, the ship ships it, they bring the container to the biggest consumer, us, and then everything gets spread out. Well, then that container gets used for exports, where we're exporting stuff back to other parts of the world. The problem is we're the biggest consumer on the planet, and we don't export a lot of stuff. We probably export 10-20% of the things that are moving around the world. The rest of it comes to us. So when they moved all these shipping containers in every single direction except for where they were supposed to go, because this thing got all jammed up, it caused some real problems. Global container shortage likely to last until 2020. Shortage, you say? What do you mean shortage? There's no shortage of them. They're everywhere. Yeah, but they're not in the right places. They all went to the wrong place. None of them are sitting in China right now. That's the real problem. Because if they were, then they would get filled up by all the little Chinese people making the Chinese products, coming to send them to America so we can spend our green dollars. The world does not have enough containers in the right places to handle the demand. It's a conundrum that has persisted for a long time that the mainstream press is finally covering. Well, I mean, I haven't seen it anywhere in the mainstream press. But anyway, we're going to move on. Let's talk about which companies manufacture shipping containers. Well, there are 15 serious manufacturers of overseas dry cargo containers. The most widely used shipping containers, 5 million manufactured each year, is made in China. CIMIC, International Marine Corporation, and they manufacture 50% of these things. Now, they are different classes. I think they make the class 2s and the second generation ones. They're kind of like just the lowest level things, but they're still good enough to get put onto a vessel for safety. And then there's other ones that make like 5th generation, containers and just the really, really expensive stuff. But basically, if you take out the manufacturer who's slowing down production because he can't ship, that's a problem. If you take the shipping container out because there's nothing to put in it, or you can't get the shipping container, period, that's a problem. If you can't load it onto a ship, that's a problem. And one of our biggest problems is the ships that do arrive here are getting log jammed at the ports. So the shipping containers either sit on the ship too long, or they sit at the port too long before they're turned around and sent back to China to give us more stuff. So it kind of made me wonder, because every prepper has thought about like a shipping container house or a shipping container bunker. You remember when like a used one was like $1,000 and a brand new one was $2,500? Well, yeah, let's see. What? Oh, look on eBay. $7,000. That is amazing. Somebody's got a price point down here. This guy even wants $8,100. So the threat is real. Shipping containers. We need them. They make them. There's a problem. It's going to come to a head very quickly. Let's go ahead and move on to the next subject. So within the market, you've got two major problems. The first of which is what they call brand limiting. You might want to pay attention to this because it's happening to you whether you like it or not. So I went over to the local Walmart to see if this is true after I read about it. And what brand limiting is when Walmart decides to only sell you certain things because it's easier for them and you get limited. So let's take a look at the first one. These pictures were taken today. Oh, I need to push some buttons. So what they do is they take their brands and then they give you the best sellers next to it. I found this all over the store. If it wasn't flat out just Chinese made Walmart brand, it was insane. Now, I'm not saying you can't buy other things, but have you also noticed that if you go to a Walmart, you can't buy a lot of stuff anymore, but if you go online, you can order it and it can be there in a couple days, whereas they're trying to compete with Amazon right now. But yeah, I remember when Walmart used to be able to walk in and pretty much anything you wanted. They had 6 or 7 different brands of everything, lots of choice. That is not what's happening now. It is now being brand limited. Remember all those uppity brands of macaroni and cheese? Oh, natural, vegan, free? Poof, they're gone. So what you see is where they take the Walmart brand, they overload the shelves, and then they put their best seller on the other side. So either way, they make a good amount of money. Let's go ahead and take another one. Oh, look, went and got some milk today. This is the milk cabinet. Nothing but Walmart stuff, and in the very center, some Mayola, which is their best seller for regular milk. What do we got here? Oh, camping section. Love the camping section. So Walmart brands surrounding best sellers. That's it. That's it. Check this out. Oh, we all know that there's some awesome outdoors camping gear in the world, but they have an entire aisle in the camping section dedicated to Walmart brand. And I guess because they don't make Coleman Fuel or Firestarter or Zippos, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. The next thing we're going to talk about is shrinkflation. Shrinkflation, this is a nasty little trick. They were doing it to us in the 80s and 90s. You remember the bag of chips that you would buy that was like this big? You know, it's like it was supposed to be like, one person size chips, like Doritos or something like that. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to get this for lunch. And you pop it open and it's like 80% air. Well, that's shrinkflation. But what they do is they get a little crafty about it first. I'm going to read you here. Shrinkflation refers to a situation wherein, although the price of a product remains the same, the size of the product shrinks or reduces. When the size of the product reduces and the price remains constant, it means that the price per unit of weight of the product has increased and that the price of the product is inflated. Inflated, inflation, connect the dots. Yeah. Here's a little graphic so you can actually see the price of something and how it changes. They're doing it to us. Take a look at it. The one that I read about this morning was talking about paper towels and how you used to get, I think it was like 120 paper towels per roll, and now you're only getting 80, but they're still charging the same price. You might want to check that out before you buy it. Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to the next subject because I don't want to waste your time. Trucker shortages. Bum, bum, bum. Well, you know how we can't move those boxes that we can't find to put stuff in to ship over here, and then, 70% of the nation's products are moved by truck in the United States. Well, this article is from the early part of April. They're down to missing about 50,000 qualified truck drivers on the road right now. And they're talking about it a little bit because it's related to gas, which we'll cover in a second. But the bottom line is that we're talking about a widespread shortage of trucks. Where are we at here? I guess it's going to start trying to play its video. I don't care. A widespread shortage of trucks, truck drivers in the U.S. is posing threats to delivery services nationwide. As a result,
Lydia,
consumers may be hitting
a driving
higher
school
delivery fees.
in New Jersey.
Shut up.
Lydia.
There we go. It just had to play. So there we go. 71% of all freight in the U.S. is heavily reliant on a vast number of trained and certified drivers to keep the supply chain running. So if we don't have enough truck drivers, I have a son who's told me they're short, but they're still playing little games. The reality is that the number's around 50,000, and it actually is going to start causing problems with gasoline prices, which is another story, but I wanted to stick to the whole box truck thing and moving things around. It's going to affect gas prices. If you have 25% of the tanker trucks are parked because they don't have qualified drivers. 25% of the tanker trucks are parked because they don't have qualified drivers. That means gas can't go. And I saw some of this last weekend where gas stations that were normally open are only getting so much gas per week now instead of having that constant resupply on schedule because they don't have enough drivers. Let that one sink in for a little while, and we're going to talk about the last one. Okay, so the last one, this is a picture from 1971. We experienced unbelievable inflation in the 70s, and it was all caused by our government. They tried to say it was the Saudis and OPEC, and it was all a big fat lie. It was all a big fat lie. So inflation is real, and we're going to be experiencing it very soon. In fact, so soon you're experiencing it right now. So what caused the inflation problem in the 70s? So the Great Inflation was blamed on oil prices, currency speculators, greedy businessmen, avaricious union leaders. However, it is clear that monetary policies which finance massive budget deficits and were supportive of local leaders were the cause. So our politics did it. It goes on to talk about basically they were spending lots of money on social programs. Oh, this sounds familiar. And Nixon was to blame for a lot of it, but he was kind of seen as a conservative who leaned to the left. And he actually said he was a Keynesian at the very end of his time. You should know that the government is doing all this. It has nothing to do with anything else. If they just got their stuff straight, things would work. So the Fed's Rossen Green says higher inflation will be as temporary as last year's toilet paper shortage. Yeah, this is a problem. The Fed is telling us what's going to happen. That's interesting. And they're talking about how they're controlling the situation. Oddly enough, in the Wall Street Journal, and this is Treasury Secretary Yellen, who just seems to have a problem with reality, she says everything screams inflation. So if that's the case, how is she working with the Fed? They're less concerned about inflation. Why would they be less concerned about inflation? I'm not sure, but it says inflation is on the way for 2021, and here's what it means for you. I'm going to give you guys all these links, but this is coming. This is here. We're already experiencing it, and you really should be paying attention to it. So if you've never heard of it before, it's called the Cobra Effect. I'm going to read it for you. Perverse incentive. A perverse incentive is an incentive that has an unintended or undesirable result that is contrary to the intentions of its designers. The Cobra Effect is the most direct kind of perverse incentive, typically because the incentive unintentionally rewards people for making issues worse. This sounds a lot to me like stimulus checks. The Cobra Effect will have a disastrous and unimaginable impact on the market, Wall Street Vet warns. This is from July of 2020. This is almost a year ago. Oh, it's going to be bad, guys. it is going to be bad. I'm going to leave these links for you. The combination of things that are already happening right now lead us to believe that the month of May is going to be devastatingly painful. The month of June should be even worse. And by July 4th, you may not be able to afford the hamburgers that you want to grill. Now, I'm not a speculator. I'm just reading what I read, knowing what I know, and seeing what I'm seeing. But the reality is the writing's on the wall. So if you don't have your preps in order, you need to get them now. This won't be the end of the world, but this will put you in a spot that you do not want to be in. So get your preps in order. Let me know what you think of the video. And as usual, stay safe.